Well, personal learning networks, I think, are really important in this environment because it's the first time in a long, long time that we can really get outside of the classroom and really begin to build kind of our own classrooms and our own curriculum. And so the change here is, or the shift here is that we can really connect around ideas that we're passionate about, that it doesn't matter where people are necessarily in physical space. What matters is that we can find them, that we can connect to them in some way, and that we can begin conversations about the things that we really want to learn about. So everybody's network is going to look a little bit different. Everybody's going to connect to other people, to different people, depending on their interests. And the literacy then becomes, how do you build these networks? How do you flourish within these networks? How do you find trusted sources within that context? It's a very, I think, much more complex process than simply being in a physical room with a group of people who are sitting next to you or who are interacting with you on a daily basis, with maybe someone at the front of the room who is teaching you or who is kind of moving you through a particular curriculum, because it's just a more independent function. You have to be the one to engage in those conversations. You have to be able to find those other people who are producing content or who are engaging in their own conversations around what it is that you're interested in. And I think you have to be able to do all this in safe ways as well. My big issue right now with schools is that I think we're trying to pretend that kids aren't creating and aren't participating in their own personal learning networks already. They are. There's no question about that. When you look at the uses of MySpace, you look at the uses of Facebook, you look at the statistics as to how many kids are already engaged in those places, they absolutely are networking. The issue is that there's no one that's really teaching them how to leverage that participation, that you can do a lot of learning within the context of those networks, and that we need to help them do that. We need to help them do it safely so they know what's coming at them. They can recognize people who may not be people who they want to interact with. We need to help them do it ethically so that they're not taking other people's work and making it their own, or so that they're not putting other people at risk or bullying or whatever else. And we need to help them do that effectively. And I really think that the best way that we begin to do that for our kids is to begin to do that for ourselves. We have to create our own personal learning networks as educators. We have to understand how those networks can have a profound impact on the way that we learn. And until we do that for ourselves, I just think it's going to be very difficult to help our students navigate this much more complex world where basically anyone can talk to anyone that's online, at least, and anyone can learn and interact with other people that they can find out there. So personal learning networks are the way that the world is going right now. That we create our own spaces, we create our own environments, we find our own teachers, we participate in those places in some very different and some potentially transformative ways. And unless we help our kids to understand the potential of that, I think they're probably not going to be as well prepared for their futures as we can help them be.